Okay, in this video we're going to put away the web page for a bit and develop some SQL queries. So SQL is important. We're getting the data from the SQL database and putting it into the PHP web page. And what I'm going to do is create a file that we're not going to use directly, but these are sample queries. And I will be taking them. This is going to be in SQL. So I'm just going to write SQL queries and run them on the command line. The first one that we had was finding out the name and the first name and the second name of the student whose matric number was entered. So that went something like SPR FNM1 and SPR CERN, and that's from was from INS SPR, where SPR code equals, and it was a number 5020 0036. So that was just a sample student, and I've hard-coded in a real value, but when we use this in PHP, we're going to be when we use this in PHP, we're going to replace this with a placeholder. The point of these sample queries is that we can just dip in and out, so I'm going to comment them. So this is a simple one: get first and second name for a single student. Okay. What else? We're interested in what modules a student's studying, and that data is stored in the table CAM-SMO. So this is where we register students on modules. So for every student who's on a module, there's one line in this table. We specify the student's number, the number of the module, the year and the trimester in which the module is taking place, that they're registered. And over the course of a student's career at the university, they will accumulate, I don't know, 6 times 4 of these, something like that. So there'll be like 24, something like that for every student eventually. And typically we're only interested in one particular year. So how do we find out what modules this student's taking? Well, a lot of the code that we've got is okay. Well, this line here anyway is okay. We're interested in looking into that select. Let's do star from. Select star from, and the table was CAM-SMO. Let's just see what that does. So find modules for one student. Okay, so that there should give me the modules that one student is taking. And that worked out okay. So this one student is taking those 3 modules. Shall we try it on another student? Let's find another student. Select star from INS SPR, and we'll pick another student at random. What about Pat Toomey? Let's see what they're doing. So change word. Change word and right click to paste that in, and let's see if this second student is doing a different set. Let's see the first, that was a student we just did, and see if this is a different one now. Control U and then right click to put that code in, and that is a different set of modules. So you can see this student is studying 3 modules, this student studying the 3 modules. Almost all students are studying 3 modules, and we can only really cope with 3 modules, or the intended interface. So that gives me a list of the modules the student's studying. Typically we'll want to do that on, we'll want to know for a particular year. So what was it, AYR? AYR code equals 2016-17, and PSL code is TR1. All of my data is about the same single trimester, and so with the data that I've got, this isn't required, but in general it will be, because we're only interested in one semester at a time typically. Okay, that's fine, but we don't know what this subject is. We've just got this module code, and some of us know these codes off by heart, but perhaps there are some people who don't. We can get that data because we've got a link to a table called, no, we've got another table called ins mod. Okay, so this describes each module. If I do select star from ins mod, you can see here are all the modules that have been taken by any of our students. Software Development 1, I'm looking for my modules. INF, there's my module, INF 08104, so that's the database one that was running last semester. And that's my number there, so this relates to me as a member of staff, so that's my user number on the system. How can we get the data from this table into this one? I'm interested in this column here, which is the mod name. So I want to get the mod name out, so the details I'm interested in are mod code, and I want the mod name as well, but I can't get them from that table. If I try this query, it'll say, it'll complain it doesn't know what the mod name is because there is no mod name in CAM-SMO, unknown column mod name. I can get that by joining this table. So I can join the mod table. So I say join ins mod on, and I have to figure out what the on clause is. So the join condition is on the common column that these guys got. So CAM-SMO has got mod code and ins-mod has got mod code. So it's the primary key on this table and it's a foreign key on this table, and that's typical of a join condition. So because both of them are called mod code, so we've got mod code in both tables. You can't really write mod code equals mod code. You have to specify that you want mod code from CAM-SMO on one side, and that's got to equal the ins mod code. Okay, so what we're doing is checking that the foreign key in CAM-SMO is equal to the primary key in ins mod, and that's the join condition. So this should give us the mod code and the mod name for all the modules that that student is taking. So semicolon there. Whoop. Okay, it's telling me that the mod code in the field list is ambiguous. It certainly is. You can see mod name only shows up in one of those tables. It shows up in ins mod, but mod code shows up in both. We know that they're equal. So actually this is SQL being a bit dumb. It could figure out that it doesn't make any difference which table we draw it from, but it's not that smart. So there we go. We can see digital storytelling. That sounds fun. Okay, so we can see the three modules that that student is taking. And yeah, everything's hunky-dory. So we can find the modules and the names of the modules for one particular student, and I hope you can see that this is an SQL query that we can take and use in our PHP. And we're going to do that at the next stage. But let's do one more query. Supposing I wanted not just that, but I wanted to have the module leader as well. Okay, so the module leader is available in ins-mod. So let's start from ins-mod. So this is the information about an instance of a module. And I was telling there's database systems, and there's my number there, could be because I'm a module leader. What we could do is join in that third table. So we've already got two tables joined. Let's add a third table into the join. So we're going to join, and the third table we want is ins PRS. This is the personnel file. And again, we've got to figure out the join condition. It's on the common column, and the common column is going to be PRS code, I think. You can see PRS code, that's the personnel code for the module. And if I look at ins PRS, this is the personnel file. So let's start from ins PRS. Okay, so these are the members of staff, and you can see they've got PRS codes. There's me, that's my personnel file, and that's my name, first name and second name. So the common column is PRS code, so it's going to be on ins-mod dot PRS code equals ins PRS dot PRS code. Okay, and having joined that in, I can now also get details of the member of staff. So PRS FNM1 and what it is to be popular. Okay, so I can get the first name and I can get the second name of the member of staff. And I've got to remember that is the member of staff leading the module, not the student. I'm also going to put in a PRS code because I fancy at some stage putting pictures of members of staff up alongside the modules. So we've got details of the module. Each module's got one module leader, and there's no particular reason to name them in the feedback, but we can. And so we want to leave that as an option. So what we did was we started off with CAM SMO. That's the basic data that we want. So this is one row for every student. We've got insmod, which is details of the module, including its module name, and we're also joining in PRS. Each of these join conditions is starting with this table, joining to this table, and then from this table we join to this table. But for each one of those, there's exactly one of these, and for each one of these, there's exactly one of that. So the total number of rows of records returned should be equivalent to the number in CAM SMO. Okay, there's just one more simple SQL query that I want to put in, and that is to get the text of the questions, get the question details, because for each student, for every module they're doing, we want to ask the 19 or so questions. And so this is a nice simple one. We're just going to select everything from the questions, and let's just remind ourselves what the columns are. Describe ins QUE. This is a table that I made up. The rest of them I've taken names from the real student record system, but student record system certainly hasn't got this in it. So let's get those things. So it's the QUE code. I guess I'm interested in the cat code. I've got the QUE name, so this is the short name that we might put in output, but the QUE text is what we actually present to the student when they're deciding what score to give the module. So this is ins QUE, and we don't want to limit that at all. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay. Alright, so that's quite big, but you can see there are the questions. The last question is 4.1, overall satisfaction. I was satisfied with the module, and the students give that a score of 1 to 5. Okay. And the first question here is staff will get explaining things, and that's the same thing. I've just put a full stop in the question, the text, and the question that is presented to the students. So this text here is what we present to the students when they're scoring, and this is supposed to be shorter text. It's not that much shorter, to remind people when we're showing charts and graphs, showing what the scores for modules are. Okay, so these three queries, they're all going to be quite handy. And we'll move in the next video, we'll look at how we can generate a list of questions for every module.